Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dosser. I have Jeff Goodman here with me, and there was a little bit of breaking news today, Goodman. I don't know if you heard, but Longwood just signed a 7-year deal to be able to play all of their home games and blah, 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 blah. Yes, I'm just
No, Kevin Giltner was officially hired at Wofford. What do you mean? There was news.
Kevin Gilton officially hired at Wofford. That news happened to drop about an hour after Bruce Pearl announced that he was stepping down and retiring from the head coaching position at Auburn University. We did something quick on this earlier. Full disclosure, we did it while we were in the middle of recording stuff for one of the media days and the media day tour that we have coming up here. So we didn't get a chance to kind of fully flesh out our thoughts, our reactions, and we just thought that Bruce Pearl, a potential Hall of Fame coach, a guy that is coming off of a Final Four, a guy that is coming off of SEC championships, that has turned Auburn into one of the best programs in the SEC, deserve more than a quick reaction video for the fact that his career is coming to an end. So we wanted to get on here and to be able to just kind of talk it through a little bit more about what it means, about the timing of it, and about where Auburn basketball stands. So let's start with this, Goodman. The latest on what we know about this decision, why it happened, and kind of just the situation surrounding Auburn basketball right now.
Well, again, to me, I'm not so much surprised that it happened. Okay. I think, again, I had multiple conversations with Bruce Pearl this summer, multiple about the situation. But it always, option A, it felt like was coming back and coaching another year at Auburn. Option B was retiring and running for the Senate seat that's soon to be occupied by the former Auburn football coach, Tommy Tuberville. So the surprise for me somewhat was Bruce Pearl stepping down now. It wasn't a shock, but it was a little bit of a surprise. But the shock was the fact that Bruce Pearl is not going to run for Senate, that he's going to retire, that he's going to ride off into the sunset. And according to my sources, there were multiple reasons for this. Number one, he's turning 66 years old, and the game has changed a little bit. And he felt like, I can't give everything anymore, right? I'm going to, as Jay Wright kind of felt to some degree, is if my heart's not all into this, I'm not going to keep doing it. And, Bruce still had the energy. I mean, we were around him enough last year. He still had the energy. He had it in July on the recruiting trail. So I think number one was, he didn't feel like he could give his players everything. Number two was retiring on top, in a sense. You went to a Final Four, your second Final Four at Auburn. That was a absolute graveyard job when he took it over 11 years ago. Number three, spending more time with his family. He's got grandkids now. His son Steven just had a baby. His daughter's got kids. So I think it was a combination and a culmination of a little bit of everything, why the decision was made for him to retire now. And to be able to give the job to Stephen Pearl as well. That's the fourth one. It actually could be the first one, depending on the order. I think it's probably somewhere in between. But if you do it this late in the ball game, you certainly make it awfully difficult for Auburn Athletic Director John Cohen to do a national search. Because if you do that, you run the risk of losing your players. You probably lose your entire staff that has done a hell of a job with Bruce Pearl. So there's a lot to be taken into account here as to why Stephen Pearl got the job. He's been with his dad for the last 7 or 8 years when again, what they've done there is nothing short of miraculous at Auburn.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. I do want to start with, though, how convinced are you that he will not be running for office, right? Because I did have a conversation with someone that knows him, and they were like, yeah, I believe that he thinks that right now, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that that's going to be the truth in a day, a week, a month, a year. So how you have a good relationship with Bruce, obviously. We've heard it a million times over the years. Hey, did you used to host a Sirius XM show with him? So where do you stand on whether or not this truly is Bruce Pearl stepping out of the limelight to be an ambassador for Auburn and just kind of go be Grandpa Pearl?
Never say never. But I would say as of right now, I don't think it's a high percentage that he does it. I think he would have done it now. I think it could have been maybe he didn't want to take away from this situation, and maybe he'll wait. But I think at this point, you're not going to see Bruce Pearl run for office anytime soon. Not now. And if he doesn't do it now, it's going to be awfully difficult to do in the future. I think Bruce Pearl is still going to be able to, do what he does, right? Voice his opinion on social media, on the networks. I mean, he's been on Fox. He's very pro-Israel. Obviously, we know, there was some thought that he wanted to be the first Jewish Republican senator ever. He did TV years ago at ESPN. He can do that again. He's going to again be a grandfather right now. He's going to have a chance to do what Jay Wright does and wake up every day and say, you know what, like there's nothing I have to do today. I'll still be involved in Auburn. I'll still live down there. I'll go to games. The one thing with Bruce is, when Kay retired, he stayed away for a while. Bruce is going to be Bruce, right? Unless Steven tells him, hey, Dad, I don't want you there, which he's not going to. Bruce is going to be there. He's going to be there.
He's going to be the mascot. He's going to be taking his shirt off and going and climbing into the student section at Neville Arena. He's going to be the biggest cheerleader that Stephen Pearl has. You know why? Because when he wants to spend time with his family, you know what his family's going to be doing? Coaching Auburn basketball.
Right.
That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I just think you're seeing more and more of this of these coaches these days. And not to say that Bruce Pearl couldn't adapt, didn't adapt, but even an instance like Chad Baker-Mazara, you wonder how much that affected him, right? A guy that signed a contract that ultimately said, you know what? I'm going to get more money somewhere else. So I'm going to break that contract. I'm going to pay out what I owe, but I'm going to break that contract and go to USC for more money. You just wonder how much, again, Bruce Pearl is a big-time relationship guy. He is. So could he have continued to do this? Yeah, I have no doubt. Auburn, we've got them in the top 20. They would have been, maybe not what they were a year ago, but they would have been a player in the SEC. And you just wonder if, again, for him, he's just saying, like, do I want to do this every year in this state of college basketball? Do I want to deal with this every year? Or would I rather go ahead, spend time with my family? I'm almost 66 years old. Who knows how many really, really good years I've got left of being able to do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, however I want.
Yeah, and he's made the money to be able to do whatever
he's leaving. Rob, I think he's leaving $25 million on the table. I think he's leaving $25 million on the table. So now, again, I'm sure Steven will recoup some of that in the family. And again, listen, I'm a guy whose daughter's getting, in her 20s right now, and I'm getting older in my career. And obviously she's going into this career, and I would do anything possible to help her. I'm sure he's thinking the same thing. How can you not? I mean, you have young kids, Rob.
Does that mean we can get you out? Get Goodman out, get Talia in here? Let's go, man. I think everybody at Field of 68 would cheer for that one. No, in all seriousness, though, the idea that a 66-year-old man is deciding that he wants to retire is I feel like the only industry where that's something that shocks anybody is college basketball.
Sports
yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, like 66 is the retirement age for a lot of people, right? Like that's the target that I have.
I'm writing 62 down. I don't know about you. I'm writing 62 down. So
well, I mean, we don't want you to retire in a year. Talia's not ready to step into your shoes. No, but in all seriousness, like 66 year, like it's very clear that the wear and tear is kind of taking the toll on him. You see him and he's not moving around as easily as he has in the past, right? And you could tell that he's a little bit more gray behind the ears. And I don't judge anyone for their decision to say that, look, I'm done. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. But we had this same conversation when Tony Bennett announced his retirement because of the timing of it, right? And we had the same conversation when Billy Lang decided that he was going to leave St. Joe's and head to the Sixers. And it is whether or not is the timing of this is something that is fair to the program and fair to the kids. And I do believe that there is space to criticize Bruce for it. But the question is whether or not this is something where there's two ways to look at it. Okay. Option A is he did this because he was trying to manipulate his way into making sure that Steven got the job, which there's probably a non 0% chance that that's why it happened. There's also, he got through it. He got through the portal. It's the first day of practices. And just the idea of going through another entire season was too much for him to handle. And he said, you know what? The best option for me, the fairest way for these kids is for me to step away. And my guess is it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? It's probably somewhere where he said, you know what, if I leave now, the benefit is going to be it helps Steven.
Right.
Someone will be giving these kids their all. And
He's
I just
got a
know
good team. I mean, he's got a good team that he's handing Steven as well. So you don't know if that's going to be the case a year from now. And again, you're coming off a Final Four appearance. You're always going to be revered. Now, again, even if they had a bad year next year or he went 2 more years, he'd still be revered. But now he goes out kind of like Jay Wright did. You know, at the top of his game for the most part, coming off a Final Four appearance. How many coaches are able to say they could do that and set their son up with a team that can be competitive? And here's the deal, and I know we're going to get into this in a minute with Steven Pearl. And was he the right guy for the job? Did he earn it? All this. Again, he was on that staff. He's been on that staff as a part of that staff that has built this Auburn program into one of the top 10 programs in the country right now? Wouldn't you say 15? I mean, they've been pretty damn good. Again, you got to
bare minimum. If you're talking about top 10, you have to have Auburn on the list and in the conversation.
Right.
I haven't thought about it well enough to give that an answer, but like, yes, they're in the mix right now.
And here's what I'll say. No matter what Steven Pearl does here, okay, no matter what he does, he's still probably he's definitely going to have this program well above what it was under Tony Barbee or Jeff Leba, the previous 2 guys that were the head coach at Auburn before Bruce Pearl. No matter what, it is not going to be a complete disaster. Yes, is he going to do what Bruce Pearl did, his dad did, and take him to 2 Final Fours and win SEC titles? I don't know. Probably not, but maybe. They're going to take a dip. But again, Bruce Pearl made Auburn relevant. And I don't want to say like he deserves to be able to pick his son as the head coach. I'm not going to say he deserves it, but this isn't like other situations. You know, like somebody brought up to me today, they were like, well, if Rick Barnes did this and then he handpicked Justin Gainey at this time. And I'm like, yeah, but like Tennessee's been good. Like Auburn came from the depths of like despair. Like they were garbage. So, you know, that's the other
here's
part.
The way I look at it. Here's the way that I look at it, right? Coach K handpicked his successor.
Sure.
Right? Like that. The reason why John Shire has the job is because that's who Coach K wanted to have it. Jay Wright, I don't know if he necessarily handpicked it, but the Kyle Neptune would not have gotten that job if it was not Jay Wright the one giving the blessing. Kevin Ollie got the job because Jim Calhoun said that he wanted to make sure he got it. And that one actually, like, there's a lot of parallels there between Jim Calhoun getting up in age. He just had like the bike crash where he didn't like break his hip or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was forced out.
Yeah. And he decided to kind of to step aside and it was Kevin Ollie that got the job. So there's precedence for this. Now you can quibble whether or not Steven Pearl is the right guy on Auburn's staff. And you probably have a better feel than I do for whether or not he's the right guy on the staff. But the idea that a Hall of Fame caliber coach coming off of a Final Four, who's been to 2 Final Fours in 5 years with, I think he has 4 total SEC championships, right? In the time that he's been there at Auburn, which he took over 11 years ago when it was the dregs of the SEC and what he's built it into. The idea that that guy is going to handpick his successor is not all that uncommon in the world of college basketball. The only difference is the guy that he picked is his son. And the only way we're going to find this out is in 3 years when we look back and we say whether or not this ends up being a success or a disaster, right? So
what I'll say about Steven, here's what I'll say. I've known him a long time. I actually criticized him when he was a player. He'll never let me forget about it. I said he wasn't good enough and his dad was playing him too much. at Tennessee. Here's what I'll say about Stephen Pearl. Been around him a lot over the last few years, and I think he has matured incredibly. I do. Like, if this had been 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would have said, no way. No way. Don't think he's ready. I will say over the last couple of years, and I've spent a lot of time around this Auburn team, a lot, probably as much as anybody that's not an Auburn beat writer. And I will say, I do think Stephen Pearl is ready for this now. Now, it's a big jump. And here's why I think he's ready for it as well, is because I think they've got such a good staff in place around him. You look at some of those guys they have, Ira Bowman and Corey Williams. They've done it a long time. Mike Burgomaster has done an incredible job since being promoted. Ian Borders, like their staff is really talented, connected, and obviously it's gonna depend heavily onto, like, do they lose anybody in the portal here? Which I don't think they will. I don't think they will, because these kids have buyouts in their contract, number one. If they leave, it's going to be very hard for them to be eligible unless they're grad transfers. I don't think they'll be eligible this year until maybe this semester. So they'll miss half the year. And who's got money left? Not a lot of teams have that type of money left that they're going to spend. So I'd be surprised.
And it's also like, Goodman, let's be honest about this stuff, right? I was having this argument with someone today where they were like, and this kind of gets into whether or not Pearl deserves criticism for the timing. And it's like, you're quitting on the kids. Well, when you were the guy making $4 million a year and the players were getting nothing but a scholarship and room and board, then retiring at this point would have been something that deserves a ton of criticism. Right. But how many of those kids just came there for the biggest paycheck? I mean, like, look,
is Keyshawn Hall really going to be crying tonight when he's making more than $2 million at Auburn this year?
I don't think he is. Like, it's professional sports now in the collegiate ranks, and I don't think anyone, if an NBA coach decided to retire in September before the season started, would anybody be saying, I just feel so bad for those players putting in a bad situation? No, you go out and hire a new coach and hope that it's the right guy and it's the right fit and that it works, right? Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at with it at this point. Is the guy I feel for is Tahad Pettiford, and Tahad is getting paid. Like, we'll call a spade a spade. Tahad is getting paid right now, but he also was the kid that was recruited for multiple years as a high schooler, that committed as a freshman, that had a chance to be a top 40-ish, top 45 kind of a pick, that came back to school to play for Bruce, right? That's the guy I feel for. Not he's got a 3, 4, 5 year relationship with Bruce Pearl that goes way back. Whereas some of these other guys, like, how long did the recruitment last for a lot of these players? A week, 2 weeks, right, when they put their name in the portal? Like, yeah, it's a tough situation, but, like, welcome to professional sports. This is part of what you have to deal with when you get paid that amount of money to be an athlete and to be a player. So, like, it sucks. I don't think I would wish it on them, but I'm not going to sit here and, wave the climb on top of a mountaintop and scream and say, Bruce Pearl's got to go. There's things that I disagree with Bruce Pearl on, right? I don't, the fact that if he's or isn't, and he's decided to retire and he wanted to make sure his son had the opportunity, like, I'm not going to sit here and be the guy that rips him for that.
No, I'm with you. Again, to each their own here.
But I also get it. Like, if you want to come out with the sledgehammers, I totally understand where that opinion is coming from. It's just like, I can't get that riled up over kids. Like, the kids that are making $2 million are not the victims of this situation.
Yeah, they're not all making $2 million. There's only a couple on this team that are making $2 million, but they're paid pretty well. They were paid well to go to Auburn, like you said. At one point, it was they're coming for the coach. Now they're coming for the money, and yeah, the coach is nice too to have that relationship. And I'm sure they'd rather play for most of them would rather play for Bruce than Stephen Pearl at this point. But ultimately, they got a good team, and it's a 1-year deal. Yep. It's an 8-month deal at this point, and a lot of these kids can probably transfer after that and still make some money and have another opportunity. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm still, what's hard for me? I will say this right now. This is hard. I was talking to my wife about it over dinner, and I was saying, like, a lot of these coaches that I came in with now are going. A lot of them. that I came in. Like that first group of like the K, Roy, those guys, they were older. Like they were older. I never really thought I'd get a chance to know those guys and have a relationship. They went, that I expected. But like this group, and Bruce is, what, 10 plus years older than me. But, you still, when I got into it, like the Jay Wrights, the Bruce Pearls, I've said it over and over. I think Mark Few will be retiring soon. Don't know if that'll be a year, 2 years, but I think that'll be soon. And it's sad, but it's not. Here's what it is. It's sad, but it's not, because I've said it about myself. Like when I retire, like I don't want to be working at 70. I have no desire to be working at 70. And some of these guys, I think, stick around for the money and for the attention and some of those other things, instead of, while they're in good health, get a chance, get an opportunity to enjoy the other side of life, the side that's, hey, you can do whatever you want, and you're not locked into having to be at practice or having to call a 16-year-old kid or having to fly across the country to, wave at a kid or talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever it is. So in a way, maybe this isn't the worst thing for some of these guys.
Yeah, it is what it is. Listen, I do want to talk a little bit about Bruce Pearl's legacy, because it is a fascinating one, and we'll get to that right after this break. As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Who needs Dagan Hughes? Who needs Trevor Valise? Who needs Connor Herrick? Just let me run the show, Goodman. Name a better producer. Name a better producer.
What was up with your voice there?
It was really deep. I need to just start talking like this. I don't know what's going on with Trevor's editing, but I need to start talking like this.
Bruce's legacy is a fascinating one to me, right? So obviously what happened when he was at Iowa, when he was the assistant, is something that stuck with him for a while, but then, kind of his past successes made people forget that in the past. He goes to Division II. Was it Indiana Wesleyan? Southern Indiana. Goes to Southern Indiana, wins. Goes to Milwaukee, wins big, has a couple big runs in the tournament. Gets the Tennessee job, turns Tennessee into the juggernaut. Basically, Tennessee then is what Tennessee is right now under Barnes. Yep. Aaron Kraft happens. He has a barbecue, lies about it, and ends up losing his job as a result of it. Goes and spends 3 years working with you at ESPN and Sirius XM, and comes back and takes the Auburn job. And I vividly remember this, Goodman. I vividly remember when he took that job. It was 2014, right? And he calls every media member. I felt like every single media member in the entire state of Alabama, and definitely in the city of Auburn, Alabama. And they show up as he walks off of this private jet, and he's got this suit on, and he looks young, and his hair is all black, and he walks out, and he just kind of says, "I'm here. Just remember to come back when we bring championships to Auburn basketball." And I was like, what is this dude talking about? Championships at Auburn basketball? Auburn? Why is this dude taking to Auburn? This is a great coach. What's he doing? And then, lo and behold, within like 4 years, he won an SEC regular season championship, won an SEC tournament, made the 2019 Final Four, #1 team in the country this past year for most of the season, has a National Player of the Year, make it back to a Final Four again. And it's just I feel like we never really gave the proper due to him in terms of how good he was as a coach until the very end of his career, because of the issues that he had with the NCAA, some of which aren't even things that are issues anymore at this point. So where do you stand on his legacy? Does he deserve to be in contention for the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I mean, what he's done, taking Auburn to 2 Final Fours, Auburn to 2 Final Fours. I just remember, again, we were at ESPN together in the radio building, and he goes up to me and he says, "I'm taking the Auburn job." And I looked at him, I'm like, "Are you nuts? Like, why would you take the Auburn job?" Now, he still had the end of his show cause at that point, so nobody was going to hire him that year. But I'm like, "What are you thinking?" And I remember one of his responses to me at that point was, "Hey, at Tennessee, I didn't make the money that they're doling out right now. I got a chance to get paid. I know it's a horrible job, but you know what? If I lose, I lose. I'm not getting anything better than this." I don't think he ever, again, Bruce is one of the best salespeople there is out there. There's nobody, I mean, very few better, right? I mean, Calipari's great. There's some other good ones, but Bruce is right up there with the best of them. I'm not sure he believed what he was selling at first to Auburn fans. I really don't. I don't think he thought in his wildest dreams he would ever take Auburn to 2 Final Fours. But, to me, sometimes that's what you have to look at when you're looking at, are they a Hall of Famer, right? It's not necessarily titles for like some people, it's got to be that title, right? That missing, championship if you don't win it. Well, but you have to put it in perspective of like, what was the program like when they took it over? What did they take over? What's it done before? Now, again, obviously, under Barkley, it was really good. But, Sonny Smith and Barkley would both, I think, admit and have admitted they were, doing some things that they shouldn't be doing at that point. I think the biggest thing to me is, again, you look at Scott Drew, what he took over at Baylor, what he's turned it into. You have to factor that in rather than just like, well, championships, because it's all relative, right? Like, what John Shire took over is not what Bruce Pearl took over, is not what Jay Wright took. There are different circumstances. And that's why I think Bruce Pearl is absolutely a Hall of Famer with what he built this Auburn program into.
Yeah, and it's not just because of Auburn. It's what he did at Milwaukee. It's what he was on the verge of doing at Tennessee. It's the success that he had at Southern Indiana. I would say he never won the championship. He never won a national title when he was at Auburn. I think if he was there for 5 more years, I think he would have had a very real chance to be able to win a title as good as anybody. So I don't think that you could put it in the same conversation of building job as Scott Drew at Baylor, as Mark Few at Gonzaga, as Jim Calhoun at UConn, as I think you could put like a Lute Olson at Arizona in a similar conversation, right? But the difference with those programs is that when Calhoun left, they were able to end up that Ollie didn't work out that well, but they got Dan Hurley and they were able to build that thing back. At Baylor, what happens when Scott Drew leaves? Will they be able to build it back? I don't know. No. I think Gonzaga, Mark Few, whenever he retires, whoever takes over is going to be able to keep that thing rolling. Maybe not at the level that it was from like 2017 to 2021, but at a level where it's consistently top 15 to top 20. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case, because I don't know if Auburn basketball has been relevant long enough for people to stay fans at this level through a rebuild. And I think part of what made Auburn so great in the last couple of years is that Neville Arena it's an absolute hornet's nest, man. Like, you go in there and it is loud and the fans are on top of you, and they do the right thing by just having a complete wall of students on one side of the floor. And the program has understood like the value of embracing the insanity of the students and leading into that and doing things to get the students involved. And that, to me, is going to be the key. Like, I don't think that it can slow down. If Stephen Pearl wants to keep this thing going, like, there can't be a blip, because I feel like if there's a blip and all of a sudden it's not the cool thing to do at Auburn University anymore, well, they got SEC football and their baseball program's pretty good. And it's a college town that's going to be warm for like 90% of the year. There's always something else that you could be doing when basketball is not the fun thing. It's not the party to go to. It's not the relevant thing on campus. It's not the the thing that the thing to do socially on that Auburn campus right now, when you have home games, is to go to see Auburn basketball and go to Neville Arena. And I don't think that if they have that downside where there's 2 or 3 years where it's not that thing, I think it'll be very, very hard to get it back again, if that makes sense.
Because again, the resources came because they won,
Mhm.
right? He won, then they got the resources. Then they've continued to win. And again, and Bruce is a salesman as well. So the combination has worked, plus the style of play. So, it's going to be interesting. I mean, listen.
Because real quick, I want to
Yeah.
add to that real quick. Because right now, I feel like part of what the reason it's having success is it's like this is a fun thing that we win at, that we can go to. I don't know if there are necessarily a huge amount of fans in Auburn that are like Auburn basketball, yes.
But
where it's the
Auburn
kind of
football
thing-
hasn't been good either
No,
throughout
I know,
all
but
this.
it's football. It's football is different. So
Yeah.
like at UConn now, and I'm just going to go back to UConn because it's the easy example to make, because it was Calhoun and then it fell off. At UConn, there are generations of UConn fans that basically grew up as UConn fans because their parents were UConn fans. That's the way that it worked for me. I know that from experience, right? And my son is going to be a UConn fan because his dad is a UConn fan, right? And I don't know if they've reached the level yet at Auburn where you're going to be able to pass it down. Right now, it's the cool thing to do because they're good and they win. Will it continue to be the cool thing to do if there ends up being a slump? So I think it's really, really, really important for Steven to keep this thing going at a high level. And to be honest, he's got the team to do it, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I mean, this year will determine Stephen Pearl's future. This year. You're only going to get a few years anyway if you're him.
Mhm.
Most guys are only going to get a few years at this point. So I think, again, you've got a Pettiford back, but you've got a completely different team too. You've got well-traveled Keyshawn Hall. You've got Keyshawn Murphy, who's going to help you up front. You got enough. You've certainly got some question marks too along the way here. The Freeman kid, you don't know how good he is yet. People are talking about him like he could be an NBA player. Who knows? Who knows at this point? So, I think this year, though, will either give him the momentum and, the rev share plus. We'll see what the plus is going forward for Auburn basketball, right? I mean, that's the hard part right now. So I think, again, you got to win this year if you're Stephen Pearl. Otherwise, let's face it, like you're talking 2, maybe 3 years to prove yourself. I don't know this for a fact yet. I haven't gotten the buyout terms for Stephen Pearl, but I would assume it's a fairly low buyout if you're John Cohen, the AD at Auburn. You're not paying a huge – listen, here's the deal. I'll give you the job. That's fine. But it's going to be a low buyout. If this thing doesn't work out after 2 years, I'm going to have the opportunity to bring in a guy.
Think about the leverage there. If you're Bruce Pearl, right? What's his leverage? Well, you got to give Steven giving him a higher buyout. Otherwise, I'm going to keep coaching. Right? Like that's not really
right. You have no leverage. You have no leverage
there.
I mean, you can make the buyout $500,000 if you wanted after year 2. And is Stephen Pearl going to say no?
No.
Right.
You take your shot.
But you got to be smart. That's where, to me, some ADs are so stupid in how they go about this. They got to understand that they're the ones with leverage. And again, I like Stephen. I hope he succeeds in this opportunity. But from a business standpoint, don't overpay just to say that you were competitive within the league. It's the dumbest thing ever that these ADs have done. And now it should be different, where because of rev share, because you're paying these players, you shouldn't overpay for a coach just to be able to say, well, we wanted to make sure he had a competitive salary within the SEC. That's a crock of shit. Like, no, save money where you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, I think this is going to be one of the more fascinating stories that we're going to keep an eye on this season. And here's the last thing I want to hit you with, because I'm going to give you some people a little bit of a behind the scenes here, right? So we're doing the recording today. And for the last, probably for a lot of August, and it kind of died down a little bit earlier on this month, but for a lot of August, these rumors were floating around. It was rumbling. It
was all in July too. I mean, every time I saw him on the road, we had a long conversation about whether he was going to retire or not.
Yeah. So that this has been the thing that's kind of been rumbling below the surface in the world of college basketball for a while. And then it kind of went away. right? It was something where I was like, well, I guess it's happening. I guess he's coaching this season. And today, it couldn't have been more than like 30 minutes before the news popped. You just hit me. You're like, hey, man, this Bruce Pearl stuff is going crazy again today. So how quick was this decision made? Like that's my question. Like, is this something where he had made his mind up
yesterday? Yeah,
yesterday?
From my sources, I think he finally made the decision like yesterday. And kind of went back and forth on it. I don't know. I haven't talked to him at length yet after the decision. I talked to him briefly, and I haven't talked to him at length of why exactly today. I don't know. I mean, I feel like something probably, could it have been the first day of practice? Like you said, could it have been the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish holiday, the Jewish New Year? We know he's deeply religious. I don't know. I have no idea why right now at this point. But it was funny. There was a report coming, right? What had come out 3 weeks ago or something like that he was leaning towards not running for Senate. So I think a lot of us, myself included, was just like, all right, that's it. He's going to coach another year.
Yeah.
I texted with him maybe 2 weeks ago. Actually, he called me whenever I was at my parents'. What was that? 2 weeks ago? He called me. And
I don't know. Let's ask the chat, Goodman. Chat. When was Jeff Goodman at his parents' house?
I don't remember, but it was a couple weeks ago. And he called me and said nothing about it. He was actually asking about some stuff going, toward the future of coaching. So I think this had to have happened here in the last week or so. And then I think he made the final decision from what I heard yesterday. Now, some people are saying, well, he didn't inform his team first. That's not how it works anymore. Like, things leak out. He wanted to inform his team first, but 95% of the time now, you're not able to, because this stuff leaks out. And, credit to Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello from ESPN. They broke the news.
Credit to Pete Thamel. We do not give any credit to Jeff Borzello ever on the show.
No, I think Borzello helped in this. I think it was good
for the new fans. That's a joke. We love Borzello here.
Yeah. So, again, I don't know who said that. Somebody said like, well, he didn't tell his team. Like I get it. All coaches would like to tell their team and the players and everybody first, but that's not the reality of how it works anymore in all cases. And in this case, he was going to have a press conference. He was going to tell his team, I think, at 2:30 today. Yeah, and it leaked out.
For 99% of these, I think the plan for the coaches is they want to make it happen, and it's somebody else within that circle that gets that information that will put it. I really doubt that Bruce Pearl was like, yeah, fuck these players, and texted Pete Thamel and Jeff Borzello and said, hey, I'm retiring. Put it out there before I tell my team. Like, that's not not how it works. Like, you have to keep it quiet. This is part of the reason why it happens a lot, because if you don't keep it quiet and you tell those players are texting those AAU coaches. Those AAU coaches text their friends.
What you have to do is
everybody knows within 10 minutes.
You have to have a team meeting, or say you're having practice at this time at 2:30. And the problem is you can't not tell your AD knows, your deputy AD knows, people under the SID knows, because they got to get a press release ready.
And then they tell an agent, or they tell their friend, or they tell someone that knows, or
it's hard to keep it quiet.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
So I don't blame Bruce Pearl for not being able to tell his players first, because again, in almost every case these days, high profile case, these things are broken before.
Yeah, you guys are too good at your job, man. You insiders.
Not me.
You inside. You ruined his moment. That's like
his moment, right? Not me.
You didn't pull it out. Not going to say it. I'm going to hold that one. All right, Goodman. This has been fun. I think we gave him the send off that he had earned as a basketball coach.
He'll be on one more time, at least one more time on Field of 68. He has already promised us that, and who knows? Again, Bruce Pearl did TV and did it very, very well when he was at ESPN. He did radio, and he did it very, very well when he was at Sirius. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Bruce doing, some of that, being an ambassador for Auburn. Obviously, we know that. Taking trips to Israel. He's done that the last few years for Auburn.
Let's be honest, Goodman. you're gonna look up, and he is gonna be sitting there arguing with Sean Hannity and Stephen A. Smith on Fox News for the rest of our lives, and that's what it's gonna end up being, and that's where we're gonna end up being here in this world. Listen, this has been fun. Bruce Pearl retired. Stephen Pearl has the job, and I think we all agree that we would like to see this Auburn run continuing for no reason other than it's a lot of fun when they invite us down there, man. So Auburn, keep on winning. We'll see you guys later. Field of 68.